I called off my engagement on Christmas Eve. Best decision I ever made. Because 3 hours later, I saw her, kneeling in the snow, handing warm food to a homeless veteran. She had no idea I was watching. She had no idea who I was. And she had no idea she just changed everything. Before we begin, if you believe in second chances and the power of one moment to change everything, hit that subscribe button. You won't believe where this story goes. Now let me take you back to the worst and best Christmas Eve of my life. My name is Christian Bardot, and on paper I had everything. At 34, I was the CEO of Bardot Property Group, one of the largest luxury real estate companies in the country. Penthouse overlooking the city, cars that cost more than most people's houses, and a fiancée who seemed perfect, Victoria Laurent, daughter of hotel mogul Richard Laurent. Beautiful, sophisticated, connected. Everyone said we were the perfect match. Everyone was wrong. It was December 24th, around 6 in the evening. My penthouse was filled with the city's elite, celebrating our engagement. Crystal chandeliers sparkled. Champagne flowed. Victoria stood across the room in a designer gown, laughing with her friends, her diamond ring catching the light. I should have been happy. Instead, I felt hollow. I excused myself and walked toward my study. That's when I heard her voice through the slightly open door. She was on her phone laughing. "Oh my God, Rebecca, stop. Yes, I know he's boring, but boring and rich is better than exciting and poor, isn't it?" Another laugh. "The wedding is just business. Daddy needs this merger, and I get to be Mrs. Bardot. After a year or two, I'll do whatever I want. He's always working anyway." My blood ran cold. "Leave him? Please. Do you know what the prenup looks like? I just have to stick it out. You marry for strategy. You keep your options open for everything else." I stood there frozen, listening to the woman I was supposed to marry describe our relationship like a business deal. And suddenly everything became clear. I walked back to the party, my mind crystal clear for the first time in months. I stepped onto the small platform and picked up a champagne glass, tapping it gently. The room fell silent. "Thank you all for coming tonight," I said calmly. "I have an announcement. The engagement is off, effective immediately. I can't marry someone who sees me as a business opportunity rather than a person. Victoria, your father can reach out to my lawyers. Everyone else, enjoy the champagne. Merry Christmas." The room erupted. Gasps, shouts. Victoria's face went bright red. But I was already walking to the elevator, grabbing my coat, leaving the chaos behind. I got in my car and just drove. No destination, no plan. The city was decorated for Christmas, families carrying presents, and I felt completely alone. I'd built an empire, but I had nobody. Every relationship in my life was transactional. Every friend was a business contact. Was this all there was? I drove for almost 2 hours, ending up in a part of the city I never visited. Old buildings, no fancy lights, just real life. It was almost 9 o'clock, snow falling heavy, when I stopped at a red light and saw her. On the corner, outside a closed grocery store, a woman was setting up tables. She was pulling bags out of an old sedan, the kind with dents and mismatched hubcaps. She wore jeans, boots, and a heavy coat, her hair in a simple ponytail. She was arranging grocery bags, containers of soup, and blankets on folding tables. Homeless people were gathering around her, and this woman was greeting each one like old friends. The light turned green, but I didn't move. I pulled over and parked, watching from half a block away. She was handing out food, hot soup, sandwiches, fruit. She knelt down in the snow to talk to an elderly man in a wheelchair, holding his hands while they spoke. Then she took off her own coat and wrapped it around a young woman holding a baby. Now she stood in just a sweater in the freezing cold, but she didn't seem to care. I sat in my heated car wearing a designer suit, watching this woman give everything to people who had nothing. Who was she? Why was she doing this? Where were the cameras? The publicity team? I'd attended charity galas where people donated thousands just to get their names on a plaque. But this woman was alone on a street corner on Christmas Eve, and nobody was watching except me. I got out of the car and walked up slowly. She was beautiful, not in the polished way Victoria was beautiful. This was different, natural. Her skin was deep brown, her eyes warm and kind. When she laughed, it lit up her whole face. "Excuse me," I said. Can anyone—" "Of course," she said warmly. "Are you hungry? We've got soup, sandwiches. Here, take this." She handed me a container before I could respond. "It's still hot." She thought I was homeless. I should have corrected her, but I didn't. "Thank you," I said. "This is really kind." "It's Christmas Eve," she said. Like that explained everything. Nobody should be alone and hungry on Christmas Eve. "Do you do this often?" I asked. "Every week. But Christmas Eve is special. This was my father's corner. He was a veteran, and he stood right here every Friday, handing out sandwiches. When he passed 3 years ago, I promised I'd keep it going." "I'm sorry about your father." "Thank you." She smiled sadly. "He taught me that we're not put on this earth just to collect things. We're here to help each other. These folks aren't statistics. They're people. They all have stories. They all matter." I looked around at the faces, really seeing them for the first time. When was the last time I'd seen people as people, not as connections or opportunities? "Can I help?" The words came out before I'd thought them through. She looked surprised. "Really? Really?" Her smile could have melted the snow. "I'd love that. I'm Naomi, by the way. Naomi Washington." "Christian," I said, leaving off my last name. For the next 2 hours, I worked alongside Naomi, handing out food and supplies. I heard stories that broke my heart and inspired me. Veterans who'd served our country. A woman who'd lost her job and apartment in the same week. A former teacher whose illness wiped out his savings. And through it all, Naomi moved like a force of nature, knowing everyone's names, making them feel seen and valued and loved. Somewhere during those hours, I forgot about Victoria. I forgot about the party, the chaos. I forgot about being Christian Bardot, CEO. I was just Christian, serving soup on a street corner, and I felt more alive than I had in years. When we finally packed up, it was after 11. Naomi was loading containers into her car, and I didn't want the night to end. "Thank you for helping," she said. "You didn't have to. I wanted to. This was incredible. What you do here." She laughed softly. "It's just groceries and soup." "It's everything," I said, and I meant it. She looked at me then, really looked at me, and something passed between us. A connection I'd never felt with Victoria in 2 years. "What do you do, Christian?" she asked. I hesitated. "I work in real estate," I said. Not a lie, but not the whole truth. "I'm a teacher, second grade. Barely pays the bills, but I love those kids. I also work weekends at a bookstore to afford all this." She gestured to the supplies. "But it's worth it." She worked 2 jobs to give food to strangers, while I lived in a penthouse. "I'd like to see you again," I said. She smiled, pulling out a napkin and writing her number. "We do this every Saturday at the community center on 5th and Morrison. If you want to help, you're welcome. If you want to do something else—" She shrugged, suddenly shy. "You have my number." I took the napkin like it was gold. "I'll be there. Saturday." "Good. Merry Christmas, Christian." I watched her drive away and stood there feeling like I'd found something I didn't know I'd been searching for. On Christmas morning, while my phone blew up about the broken engagement, I made a decision. I wanted to know Naomi, really know her, but not as Christian Bardot, billionaire CEO, as just Christian. So on Saturday, I showed up at the community center in jeans and a regular coat. Naomi's face lit up when she saw me. We spent the day organizing donations, then got coffee at a small diner. We talked for hours. She told me about her students, her father, her dreams. I told her about feeling lost, wondering if there was more to life than making deals. You're searching for purpose, she said. Money can't give you that. Only you can decide what matters. She had no idea she was talking to someone who could buy the entire block. And I love that. We started seeing each other regularly. I'd volunteer every Saturday. Then we'd grab dinner or walk through the park. She introduced me to her world, community meetings, school events, quiet nights at her tiny apartment. I'd never felt more at home. I fell in love with Naomi Washington completely, with her laugh, her kindness, the way she made me want to be better. For the first time, someone liked me for who I was, not what I had, but I knew I had to tell her the truth. 3 months after Christmas Eve, the decision was made for me. We were at the community center when Naomi came out of the office holding a magazine. Her face was pale. My face was on the cover. Bardot calls off society wedding. Real estate mogul chooses independence. Christian, she said quietly, is this you? My stomach dropped. Naomi, I can explain. You're Christian Bardot? The billionaire? Yes, but you lied to me. Her eyes filled with tears. For 3 months. I didn't lie, I said desperately. I just didn't tell you everything. That night on Christmas Eve, I just found out my fiancé only wanted me for money. Then I met you, and you didn't know who I was. You just saw me. I wanted someone who knew me, not my bank account. So you let me talk about struggling to pay rent. You let me worry about affording groceries. You sat in my tiny apartment while you live in a penthouse. I never meant to hurt you, I said. I love you, Naomi. I fell in love with you. You don't even know what love is. Love is honesty. Love is trust. I've been more myself with you than I've ever been, I said. Everything I felt, that was real. She wiped her eyes. I need time. Please go. Naomi, please. I left, and for the next week I was miserable. She didn't answer calls or texts. I threw myself into work, but nothing mattered. Board meetings felt pointless. I'd go home to my penthouse at night and think about her tiny apartment where I'd felt more at home than anywhere else. I finally understood what she'd been teaching me. Purpose isn't about what you accumulate. It's about what you give. It's about connection, making someone's life better. 10 days later, my assistant buzzed. Mr. Bardot, there's a Naomi Washington here. Send her in, I said immediately, my heart pounding. Naomi walked into my office, looking at the windows, the expensive furniture, the view. She looked at me in my suit behind my desk. So this is your life, she said quietly. This is my work, I said. You're my life, Naomi. Or at least I want you to be. She took a breath. I've been thinking. The man I fell in love with really cared about people. He knelt in the snow to talk to Mr. Harrison. He remembered everyone's names. Was that real? That was the most real I've ever been, I said. Before I met you, I was sleepwalking through life. You woke me up. You showed me what matters. Then show me, she said. Don't tell me, show me. How? She smiled slightly. You have all these resources. What are you going to do with them? And I knew exactly what to do. What if we combine them? Your heart and my resources. What if Bardot Property Group started building affordable housing? What if we created a foundation to support what you do, but bigger? What if we used everything I have to make a real difference, but only with you? You have the vision. I just have the means. She was quiet for a long moment. I don't want your money, Christian. I know, but what if it wasn't about me giving you anything? What if it was about us building something together? Something that helps people? She looked at me, searching my face. Then slowly she smiled. The man who spent Christmas Eve handing out soup. That's who I fell in love with. If that's who you really are, it is. That's who I want to be. That's who you helped me become. She crossed the room and took my hands. Then let's do it. Let's build something that matters. I pulled her close, and when I kissed her, I felt like I'd finally come home. That was 6 months ago. Today, Bardo Property Group has a new division for affordable housing. We've broken ground on 3 developments for families transitioning out of homelessness. Naomi and I run the Bardo Washington Foundation together, funding community centers and food programs. And every Saturday, we're back on that corner where we met, serving food alongside volunteers. Last week, I asked Naomi to marry me, right there on the corner where everything changed, surrounded by the people whose lives we're privileged to touch. She said yes. Victoria married a banking heir 3 months ago. I saw the pictures. They looked perfect, polished, empty. I'm grateful to her. Her betrayal set me free. It led me to that street corner. It led me to Naomi. Sometimes the worst moment of your life is a doorway to the best. Sometimes losing everything helps you find what really matters. And sometimes the person you're meant to be with is the one who sees you, really sees you, even when you're trying to hide. I called off my engagement on Christmas Eve, and 3 hours later, my real life began. All because a second-grade teacher with a heart bigger than any fortune decided to spend her Christmas Eve feeding strangers in the snow. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to this channel for more stories that remind us what really matters in life. And remember, the best decision you ever make might feel like the worst one at first. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find what's really valuable. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.